Prison isn't meant to be easy, but Joran Sloot's time behind bars has just gotten even worse. Sloot was initially jailed in 2012 after pleading guilty to the murder of Stephanie Flores. He strangled her in a hotel room in 2010. Speaking in court about the murder, Sloot told the judge, "Yes, I want to plead guilty. I wanted from the first moment to confess sincerely. I truly am sorry for this act. I feel very bad." Sloot was sentenced to 28 years in prison for Flores' murder. He then received an additional sentence for the Natalie Holloway murder case. After Holloway disappeared in 2005, the case took the world by storm, and even Dr. Phil got involved.
Somebody said, "Oh, that's Joran Sloot. He likes to prey upon young female tourists."
Sloot became a prime suspect but repeatedly denied that he was involved in her disappearance. In 2006, Sloot told ABC News, "The last time I saw her, she was sitting on the sand by the ocean." Years went by, but authorities could never get him to admit to any wrongdoing.
"He killed my sister." Who's to say he's not going to snap and kill somebody else?
Then in 2023, Sloot was extradited from Peru to the U.S. because he faced extortion and wire fraud charges for taking money from Holloway's parents after telling them he would reveal the location of her body, although he ultimately never did. In order to get a lighter sentence for these charges, Sloot revealed the disturbing details of her murder. He admitted that he kicked Holloway hard enough to knock her out after she refused his sexual advances, then picked up a cinder block and hit her with it.
He said that after killing her on the beach in Aruba, he put her into the water, and that was the last that he ever saw her.
The confession turned out to be more shocking than anyone anticipated, yet it still led to a lighter plea deal for Sloot. He was ultimately sentenced to 20 years for extortion, a term that was set to run concurrently with his sentence for Flores' murder. However, his time in prison has likely been worse than many thought it would be. In April 2024, while serving his sentence at Peru's Chayapalca prison, Sloot was attacked by 2 inmates. Once the fight broke out, more inmates joined in before prison guards could intervene. Sloot was seen by medical professionals following the incident, despite only suffering minor bruises and cuts. Reps from the prison refused to reveal too many details from the attack, but shared with the New York Post that Sloot wouldn't face any repercussions because he didn't start the fight. Sloot's experience in Chayapalca was a complete 180 from what his prison time had been like just months prior. In October 2023, it was reported that he was living a cushy life in prison.
Peru's prison system allows inmates to wear their own clothing.
He bounced from Peruvian prison to Peruvian prison and reportedly had access to the internet, television, and a cell phone at certain locations. At one point, Sloot even felt cocky enough to threaten a prison official.
Joran Sloot threatened to kill the warden of the prison where he had been serving a 28-year term.
Besides all the amenities to which Sloot had access, he also struck up several romantic relationships with women on the outside. A February 2024 report in the New York Post revealed that Sloot was reportedly having sex with 3 different women. When asked about these relationships by the Post, a spokesperson for Peru's National Penitentiary Institute responded, "He was approved for conjugal visits. He has the same rights as any other prisoner."
He told me at one time that he could play online gambling. He had a cell phone for a while. He called me.
As shocking as this may seem to the public, it doesn't seem like much of a surprise to a former childhood friend who shared, "He's a player and has always been a player. Women have always been attracted to him for some reason." So while Sloot's time in prison has been bizarre by U.S. standards, at least he remains behind bars, paying the consequences for taking the lives of 2 young women.